So good morning, everybody, and welcome to a new edition of the NCBI podcast. I'm June Tinsley, Head of Communications with NCBI. And today I have the pleasure of chatting to a few service users who are all based in Cork and who have used different services connected with NCBI. I'm joined by Elaine Slattery and Ken Walsh, Elaine O'Neill, and Derry Walsh. So very welcome to all of you. Thanks very much for taking the time to have a chat with me.
Okay.
I think I'll just start off with you, Ken. Would you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Ken Walsh. I'm from Kinsale. I'm 39 years old. I have a guide dog called Marley. Some of my hobbies are listening to audiobooks, walking, listening to music, meeting up with friends. I love trying new different apps and just messing around with technology in general.
Great. And what about you, Elaine? Tell us.
Hi, I'm Elaine O'Neill Slattery. I'm in Cork now for 36 years, originally from Dublin, and I'm on my 7th guide dog. His name is Jarvis. And yeah, I love these groups and technology and connecting with people. Yeah.
Great. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, Sean Cavan is my name. Originally from Cove in County Cork. Living in Cork now for a number of years for my sins. I was in the Navy for 22 years before I was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa. And I, because of that, then had to retire, but got a job back down there as a telephonist and did another 20 odd years back there as a telephonist. Got to know the lads here and the groups, and like Elaine there, we look forward to the Wednesday morning and the Wednesday afternoon.
Excellent. And last but not least, Derry. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Derry Walsh. I'm Derry Walsh. I'm no relation to Ken Walsh. It just so happens that there are a lot of Walshes who are vision impaired in Cork at the moment anyway, yeah. I'm retired now 4 years from work. I have a condition called camaraderie. It's not a well-known condition, and there's not a big population of it in this country. In America, they call it CHM, and there's obviously a bigger population, but it's still a small population as opposed to the population over there, which is about 300 million. But anyway, so once I started off, I what they call the classic camaraderie. When I was a young lad, I had no peripheral vision, and I had, as a consequence, I didn't have any peripheral sight. I didn't have any night sight. So I went on, and over the 65 years, I actually ended up working until I was 65, which I was delighted with. I was an accountant. I ended up in a consulting engineering practice for 26 years, even though I was, vision impaired, used canes, used a dog. It was no problem to them. They knew I could do the job, and they actually appointed me to be a partner in the firm. So, and I was financial controller as well. My hobbies, I'm interested, like Ken, in reading. We have a book club, which is great, and I'm interested in music as well. And I have been for 30 years a presenter on hospital radio in Cork, CUHFM, 102 FM in Cork. We are actually physically off the air at the moment because of the coronavirus. We're not allowed into the hospital, but the station is still on the air. From as we say. So that's me. Yeah.
Fair play to you, Derry. And certainly, I'm sure many of the patients are missing out on that resource of the hospital radio, which is a shame.
Yeah, well, our whole studio was refurbished just before the virus came in, and we never got into it. And the guys are looking at photographs of it now on WhatsApp. Needless to say, I'm not. Anyway, yeah.
But hopefully you'll get back in soon enough.
We will, hopefully. I'm very optimistic now with all the vaccines that are coming on board. We have 3. I'm sure we'll have a lot more. Yeah, that's great.
Fingers crossed. So I suppose just to given that the year 2020 has been a bizarre year to say the least, how has living during COVID affected each of you? Can I start with Sean?
Yeah, well, not a great difference to be honest, because I do a lot of pottering around in the house. I do a lot of bits and bobs out in my shed, and no, I just keep myself busy, keep myself going. And again, as I said, tuning in here on the Wednesday, listen to the lads, and then there's the group on a Saturday, and there's a group on a Monday.
Right.
So with all that, you're kind of tickety boo.
Yeah, your week is fulfilled.
Yeah.
And what about Ken? How have you felt? Has your life changed at all during COVID?
It has a bit, yeah. I miss going to the groups physically. Don't get me wrong, having them online is brilliant and all that, but it's the social side of meeting friends after for lunch or a cup of tea. So I miss that. Like Sean, all these different groups that we have on the Wednesday and the Saturday and the Monday is fantastic. And we have the social side with the chat as well after, but it's actually, I do miss going to the groups, but having them online is brilliant. Yeah, and I just miss meeting up with friends in general, and yeah.
And I suppose it's just literally that human connection that you get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's harder to generate that in an online club.
It is. Yeah, it is. And the groups have been stronger now virtually than they've ever been actually when you physically go to them. Like some of our numbers, the book club, for example, it's last month has been, I suppose, one of our biggest turnouts on Teams.
And I suppose club is just such a resource to everybody, not only those within the Cork location, because online lends itself to such a opportunity to spread the membership essentially.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And Elaine, how have you felt your life has changed during COVID?
Oh, quite dramatically. But I think as people with disabilities, we do adversity very well because we're very used to being waiting for services and that. I think in the beginning, I think it was more media driven. We were full of fear and it was an unknown quantity what the virus was. But once the first lockdown was over, we settled into things, and I've met new people on the groups and people that I haven't physically met for maybe 40 years, which was great. And, I think you come to a group with focus, you want to give something to the group as well as get something from the group. And I feel we've had to become quite creative in managing, even at home, because I live alone. Quite creative with how to handle things without sighted assistance. But I have to say I'm eased into it now, and I love the groups. In fact, I haven't got enough time in the day to go to all the things I want to go to, including live concerts online and Facebook and that. Yeah, so incredibly busy with it.
And as you say, there is a both an opportunity and also a challenge really to try and make the most of your time. And have you found that other groups that you're connected with, not just NCBI, but other groups have also increased their offerings to people who use their services?
Oh yeah, I think life has never been better in some ways because there's so much to do. And I mean, we've done things in our group. We've demonstrated all sorts of things, kitchen aids, home aids, security aids, apps, technology tips. We have extended ourselves to help each other out and just to be social as well. We've shared recipes and various tips on life, so it's been good.
Okay. And what about you, Derry? How has your life changed during COVID?
Well, I have a guide dog called Lion, and I mean, I would have been walking him every day anyway. Well, most days they're fine, Don't go out on windy days or very wet days, but I would still be walking him every day, and just pulling the restriction back to 5 kilometres doesn't make a difference to me. So I'm still walking around the area that I'm from. So that's fine, and all the clubs are a big bonus. Like, no, I was always in the what's called the book club, which, you know, as Ken said, its numbers have gone up now. But people from all over the country, like Galway, we have guys, people from Limerick, and you know, and we're expected to have a dub come on board now. But he wouldn't admit to being a dub. He's now living in Bray. But anyway, you know, the book club is absolutely. We had 9 or 10 at it recently, and it was tremendous discussion on the books. You know, because all these people are avid readers. Indeed, Elaine is there as well, but she's off at the moment. She's off the book club at the moment. But it's and the other clubs. I'm in the tech clubs as well. I'm not a big techie, but say the Cork club is good. There's a good bit of camaraderie and banter in it as well. So you certainly learn from, like, we have gurus of the tech era, and we've 2 of them here, like Elaine's a real guru going back there. She wouldn't admit to it now, but she is. And Ken's a real guru.
Ken Walsh,
well. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're very good at it, like, very good. And like, if they don't know, they'll find out, you know, and brilliant, because I could be trying to find out some of that stuff for a long time. But you know, as you say, we morphed into other groups as well. And I'd say people don't know who the groups are now, but it's good for the blind, you know. And, you know, they're all technical stuff and support groups. We have support group now this evening, and peer support, and or tomorrow evening, sorry, yeah. And like, that can discuss any situation. And, you know, if someone has an issue or whatever, they can throw it up on the table, and it's confidential, and that's great. And all these groups are terrific, like, you know. And like, my daughter was asked here by her friend, how are your parents getting on? And she said, I'd say your mother has to get out, but your dad's probably okay. And my daughter said, yeah, my dad's okay. He's listening to his radio, he's listening to his music, and he can do all the technical stuff, where it's a kind of a different world, you know, altogether. And I have a dog then to walk as well. So that's it, yeah.
And tell me, in connection with the peer support group, are the issues raised or the activities discussed or whatever, are they all kind of led by yourselves?
Yes.
Oh, there would be, in the peer support group, they are, yeah. I mean, yeah, well, Katrina Cronin sits in, and another, or one of our technical guys, Brian Manning, sits in. And like, they're not leading it now. Brian probably is facilitating it, but the subjects can come from anywhere on the floor, as it were, or around the table. Yeah, or from any, yeah.
And from each of them, then you'll be surprised to pick up little tips. I mean, to me, computer, when I started off, you know, when my vision was gone down, my computer was barely, you know, it's like a record keeper or a file for holding my files. I'm involved with the naval branch of the ONE, National Service Personnel, and I used to keep all the minutes and the agendas and all that kind of thing. And it's only lately that I kind of got involved with the tech side of it. And, you know, I'm a novice really, and I'm surprised what I'm picking up since I started with these groups.
Okay.
And we contact each other outside of the group if we issues that can't wait till the next meeting, you know, which is very helpful.
It is indeed most helpful, yeah.
And it goes down to the bond that's connected between you all, and the honesty that's been shared. And I'm just curious, particularly the peer support group, do you think that works just as well online as it does meeting face to face, or are you missing that kind of human touch and interaction?
Yeah. Well, for me, now, of the 4 of us, that I know all these people, I know Elaine a long, long time, 31 years or something like that. I know Sean Kavanagh a long time as well, and like we travelled the seas on tall ships together, about 7 voyages. So on the beautiful ship called Tenacious, a tall ship called Tenacious. So, and I know Ken then more recently, like, yeah. But we know each other fairly well, like, from going in and out, having cups of tea, and yeah, and bottles of Coors, Ken, you left that out. So,
I actually find
but
that
we
most
a lot
peers-
of us know each other.
Okay. Sorry, Elaine, jump in there.
I was just saying, I actually think there's much more peer support. And, you know, people have been vulnerable and they're allowed to be vulnerable in the group and bring up any issues they want. And as Derry says, it is, you know, confidential.
Exactly. Exactly.
And sometimes we just have some wacky moments that don't mean a lot, but that's very necessary too.
But I think we're all comfortable then in our own homes, kind of thing. You know, if you go to meet somebody somewhere, you're kind of watching where you're going and where you're sitting, and
Yeah,
you're trying to get somebody's attention if you're looking for the coffee or anything like that, you know. Whereas we're all sitting here now in our own, probably comfort zone, and we're just chatting away. It all flows freely.
That's a fair point, Sean. Actually, you're already comfortable because your environment is comfortable. So it's just kind of lends itself to that.
I think we're conserving a lot of energy, not, you know, the hassle of transport and buses and is it safe where we're going? And, yeah.
And I suppose as well, you know, you don't have to go out in a winter's afternoon with it's wind and rain and it's dark, and whereas you just have your meeting now online and, you know, you're in the comfort of your own home.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
That's a bonus as well. But you do miss face-to-face contact as well.
Yeah, I suppose it'll be something for NCBI and others to consider in a post-COVID world, how to marry up all those factors that you've just kind of outlined, and trying to strike the balance between things being accessible online and being productive as the opportunity to meet in person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose just in terms of, Elaine, to your point of the things of having to be creative to occupy time during lockdown and to seize the opportunity to try some new things. What have you tried that's a bit different that you wouldn't have done maybe this time last year?
Oh, I took up knitting again. And things like that. And then I wanted to measure garments and I didn't have a measuring. So I, you know, got somebody to measure an envelope that was 6 inches. That's what I mean by being creative. You know, we improvise, adapt and overcome at a time like this, you know, and, you know, in terms of reading and that the voice stream scanner has been great for reading documents and posts and stuff like that. Yeah.
Excellent. And obviously, Sean, from your perspective, you've kind of embraced a bit more technology. Is that correct?
Technology, yeah. And as I said, I'm kind of fond of doing bits of DIY, and through the groups I heard of talking tape measures, got myself one of them. And instead of having to ask somebody to kind of look at where I'm measuring, I can go and measure it myself. And I also got a spirit level, which has a high pitch if you're up too high on one side and a lower pitch. And that also comes in very handy. So I'm doing a lot more now than around the house than I would have if it wasn't locked down.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. What
As a
about
matter
you?
of fact, my wife, Breda, says, would you leave something for me to do?
Fair play to her. What about you, Derry? Have you embraced anything new that you wouldn't have done before?
Well, I suppose the technology, although we had a technology club running before the COVID or before the coronavirus, and I was involved in that, and now I'm involved in, well, it could be 2 or 3 clubs a week, whichever, you know, and so there's a bit of camaraderie in the clubs as well, you know, there's a bit of banter going on at the club, so that's always welcome, you know, but I suppose that would be the one thing that I did. The other things that I'm doing, I just do them anyway, yeah. And I have my own few jobs, like not as good as Sean, now around the house as well, but I'm not doing anything like Sean, cheapers now. No, but I totally, you know, I enjoy going out for the walk, and I certainly enjoy the classes or the groups, yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And we're meeting lots of people from around the place. We're meeting people. We meeting a woman from Cavan the other last Saturday, and we were asking her, asking her about the football, you know, even though I got flagged off for that, but she was dead right. They won it anyway. But, you know, we're meeting people like that. We have, there's a lad there there's a couple of people from Galway actually, yeah. And there's a girl who lives in Limerick, but definitely tells you that she's from Galway, you know. So you wouldn't meet all of those. We have one lad from Limerick who comes to Cork all the time for some of our groups, you know, but that's a big journey, like, so, yeah. It's great to meet all the people.
And Ken, what about yourself? What kind of you embraced?
I go for an extra long walk now that I didn't before COVID. Because I go for lots of walks with my guide dog Marley. And I suppose I'm busy brushing him and looking after him and just going for walks. And like Derry, I'm involved in the different groups that he'd be involved with. And I just love these groups in general. You know, it's something to look forward to. You know where you are. You know where you are, like with the different groups weekly. It's kind of a routine, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah, and I people would ring me up, you know, can I set them up on Zoom? So I could spend a good few hours messing around with that, kind of set them up, and someone might ring me up for a bit of advice, so I'd be helping them. And like Elaine said, you know, we'd all kind of keep in contact with each other, you know, something arose, technology-wise or otherwise, we'd help each other out.
Yeah, it certainly sounds that, which is a huge resource to have to people. And I suppose that's what friendship is all about at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I suppose just to conclude, is there any other kind of advice you'd give to anybody who's listening about, and they could be finding lockdown challenging? Is there any advice you'd give to others?
Get involved with the groups.
Yeah, get involved.
Yeah, definitely get involved with the groups and keep
definitely
up with
get involved with the groups.
And the groups are
just
a really safe place. You know, they needn't have any fear.
No, none whatsoever.
No.
And we, 6 of us who are vision impaired, have a table quiz group. We have a table quiz every week. So one of us has to put the table quiz together and start to be quiz master then for the other 5. And it's a good lot of banter to it, and could take 2 hours or it could take 2.5 hours, and there'd be a chat afterwards. It's very social as well. Now we all know each other, you know, before the virus.
Yes. Yeah.
But Ken has been very modest there. Ken won a prize last week for his walking.
Oh yeah.
I did. I was listening to Red FM here, a local radio station in Cork, and you had to take a screenshot of your steps. It wasn't for the most steps. You could take just, you know, a random screenshot. So I sent it into the radio station, and I just got a call back saying that I was going to be today's winner. So I won a nice €200 Tesco voucher.
Oh, perfect. That's ideal.
But first, the prize first was €100.
100, that's right.
That they gave him 200, yeah.
Exactly.
That's
you're right, yeah. You're dead right.
Well, there was 100 for him and 100 for the dog.
That's true. I didn't think about that, John.
Yeah, that's true. Well, listen, I just want to say thanks very much for having a chat with me this morning. And anybody who is interested in participating in any of NCBI groups can contact NCBI on 1850 33 43 53. These groups are available across the country. Many of them have moved to online now due to COVID. But as I said earlier, there will be an opportunity to reconvene these on a face-to-face basis once restrictions have been eased and kind of we move into a post-COVID world. But certainly there's, as you can hear from the participants today, there's huge amount of camaraderie and trust and friendship and learning as well from all the different groups that are on offer. So I'd certainly like to say a huge thanks to Derry, Ken, Sean and Elaine for joining me this morning. And I wish you all the very best for the rest of COVID and into the Christmas period.
You
Happy
too.
Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Thank you very much.
And happy Christmas to you. Yeah.